Bonjour and welcome back to my channel. My name is Claude and today I'm going to be doing the review of the Tarot Del Toro deck. Now, I've owned this deck for a while, actually quite a while, but I really wanted to do a review on this because I don't see it used much and I really think it's a fantastic tarot deck. So I figured, even though it's been out for a long time, I'd just review it because I review decks that I like and use, no matter how old they are. So let's start with the box. So this is a sturdy box. The words, I don't know if you can see, Tarot and Del Toro are embossed. And this is how it looks like on the front, the sides. It says on the side here, inspired and supervised by Guillermo del Toro. Now, Guillermo del Toro is a director, a film director, and he's received quite a lot of accolades, you know, with Caesars and Oscars. And it is designed and carved by Thomas Hijo. So it's a collaboration between the two. Now, when you open the box, which is nice and smooth, this is what it looks like inside. You have the little white book and then the cards are neatly put in the box, which I like. I don't like big boxes that just waste space for no reason. So this is the little white book. That's the Mandrake route from Pan's Labyrinth, one of his films. So it reads on the front, a tarot deck and guidebook inspired by the world of Guillermo del Toro. Forward is by himself and it's written and illustrated by Thomas Hijo. So this is the spine. I do damage the spines because that's who I am. And it's all in colour on some paper that looks like it's been aged, you know, on purpose to look nice and to work with the style of the deck. So when you open it, this is what you see. And then you've got a really nice picture of the Ace of Swords here. Table of contents, so you've got the foreword, the introduction, what is tarot, the major arcana, the minor arcana, the court cards interpreted, numerical cards, readings, and the final word. Now, I will say this is a deck that's based on the Tarot de Marseille, so it's a pip deck, no pictures on the numerical cards. So the foreword is written by Guillermo del Toro himself, and he explains that his mom was reading the tarot all the time and that at some point she taught him how to read it. And he explains how he chose Thomas Hijo to do the art for the deck. He is a modern engraver. So that's that. Then the introduction is written by Thomas Hijo, the person who drew the cards. And he explains how he came about, how he met the director, Guillermo del Toro, and so on and so forth. Then what is tarot? So obviously, you know, it explains it. And then it moves on to the major arcana. And for each major, you have the title, the card, you have the meaning of the card, generally speaking, and how the picture has been chosen comes from one of the films or one of the novels that Guillermo del Toro collaborated on. And it's got a quote at the end from Guillermo del Toro. And you have that on every single one of them, which is really nice. So you go through all of that. And then it moves on to the minor arcana. So it talks to you about what they are. The suit and the courtly figures, goes through them as well. Short interpretations for the court cards for each of them. And then it moves on to the numerical cards. Now, all you have is what the numbers represent. So for instance, 1 is the origin, 2 is tension, 3 is fruit, and so on. And then some examples. So for instance, the Ace of Cups would be this, the 2 of Swords would be that, but it doesn't give you a interpretation for all of them. It gives you the keys on how to interpret it, which I love, because I do believe that if you know numerology, you know the numbers, and you know what the suits represents, then you can read tarot. You use your intuition to put it together, and that's what it does. It's done intentionally to spark your intuition. Then it goes over readings, and it explains the Don Miguel's cross method. Now, Don Miguel is mentioned at the beginning by Thomas Hijo. He was a very well respected tarot reader in his area where he lived. So that's how to do it, and it gives you 3 real readings examples and explains how they are, which I thought was very interesting. And then you have a final word and a little bit about Guillermo del Toro and a little bit about Thomas Hijo. And there you have it, that's your little book. So now let's move on to the cards. Now firstly, look at the backs. Look how nice that is. I love the back of those cards. Now this is a standard size deck. I've got average hands, so if you look at it, it kind of fits nicely. The cardstock is very good, but it's bendable, but it's going to sustain a lot of use, and it's very matte, so it's really nice to touch. I really like that. Okay, so I'm going to go through the major arcana and tell you how they are linked to the films or the world of Guillermo del Toro, because the whole tarot deck is based on the world that he's created within his films, or within a collaboration on novels that he did called The Strain. So if you like imaginary worlds that have a tendency to be dark, or even if you like zombie tarot decks or stuff like that, this is going to be right up your alley. But as I said, remember, this is a pip deck, it's a Tarot de Marseille deck, so no pictures on the numerical cards. So we start with the Fool. Now the Fool is represented by Faun, which is he's a primal being from the film Pan's Labyrinth. You then have the Magician. Now this is Guillermo del Toro himself. You see, and you've got the Mandrake right here, which you had on the little book as well, from the Pan's Labyrinth. The High Priestess, I hope you can see it and I'm not cutting the card. The High Priestess is Nuala, and she's an elf princess from Hellboy 2. The Empress. Now this is Ophelia's mother. Ophelia is the main character in Pan's Labyrinth, and at the end of the film, that's how Ophelia sees her mom holding a baby brother. We then move on to the Emperor, so that's the 4th major arcana. Now that's Baelor, he's an elf king from Hellboy 2. Then the Hierophant is the master vampire in The Strain, which is a series of novels that Guillermo del Toro collaborated on. And he's chosen that, Thomas Hijo chose that as a picture, because he said, you know, well, what better creature than a vampire to lead you and carry you into a supernatural life, you know, like the Hierophant is the bridge to the afterlife. The Lovers is come from the shape of water, with the mute human and the water creature. Beautiful film. If you've not seen it, I highly recommend it. But then again, I'm a big fan of Guillermo del Toro, so I'm going to recommend all the films, just so you know. The Chariot. Now that was interesting. It's a cart troll from Hellboy 2. So you see you've got a troll here, and it's on the cart. Justice, which is number 8, because it's a Tarot de Marseille. In a Rider-Waite it would be 11. So Justice is the ghost of Edith's mother in Crimson Peak. That's an awesome horror film. If you've not seen it, again, I would, I'd recommend it. Then you've got the Hermit. Now the Hermit is represented here by the Pale Man, and that's one of the representation of the Faun Man in Pan's Labyrinth. And it's a very nice image because he's blind but he can see through his hands, and the Hermit is the card of introspection, going in order to seek the truth. So I thought that was very interesting. Then you've got the Wheel of Fortune, and that's the watermill in Pan's Labyrinth. I hope you can see it. Yeah. Moving on to Strength, which is number 11 because it's a Tarot de Marseille, and it would be 8 in the Rider-Waite. Now, Strength is Mr. Wink, and that's the henchman to Prince Nuada in Hellboy 2. And he represents unstoppable strength and energy, so it's a very, very good choice. Then you've got the Hanged for the Hangman. Now, I know it's a little bit, for some people might be disturbing, to me no, but this is a fetus kept in a liquid, and this comes straight out of the Devil's Backbone film. And in the film you have fetuses, and they're kept in jars, preserved in a liquid that's called the limbo water, which obviously I love that because the hangman can represent a period of limbo where things aren't moving. Then card 13, which obviously is the Death card. Now this is the Angel of Death from Hellboy 2, so pretty straightforward explanation here. 14, Temperance. Now that is Edith from Crimson Peak. We saw her mom, the ghost of her mom, as Justice. That this is Edith because she's pure, she's the main character of the film. The Devil, well, that's Hellboy himself, so that speaks for itself really. The Tower, now for the Tower was a very interesting choice. This is Cathedral Head in Hellboy 2, and if you look, this is actually a head on a body. And I like that, because to understand the tower is to understand it from within, what made it fall. I thought that was very interesting. The Star, now that's Ophelia, who's the main character in Pan's Labyrinth. The Moon, that's the Pan's Labyrinth reference. It's the actual world of Pan's Labyrinth with the big toad in the bottom, which replaces the crab, and they've just added the tree because in the film you have that tree just above it. We then move on to the Sun. Now this is a reference to the film called Pacific Rim, which is set in the future, so more futuristic. And in this movie you have big, gigantic robots that look a bit like the Transformers, but not quite. They are operated with 2 humans inside, and they fight big monsters called kaijus. And the actual robot is called a Jaeger, and this is a specific one called Gypsy Danger, and she's an older model, and her power core burns in the center right here like the sun, so that's why it was chosen. And the twins here represent the fact that in order to operate the big machine you need the 2 pilots, and they need to be linked, their brains have to be linked for it to work. So if you know the film, you'll understand immediately what it stands for. It's really clever. We then move on to Judgment. Sorry, I had it in the wrong order. Judgment, so the idea of, apocalypse and, the judgment, the last call. And that is a reference to the rusty bomb which is found in an orphanage yard in the film Devil's Backbone. And then for the world you have a chrysalis that's about to open, and that's a reference to the film Mimics. So that's the major arcana, which I'm going to put back right here. And then we move on to the minor, which I'm going to go through very quickly because, well, it's a pip deck. So the cups have become goblets, and that's your ace. And then you're going to see just the numbers and the cups. Oh, where did I put my 3? There you go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we move on to the court cards. Now the page are the valet. That's the French word, valet is pronounced. So there's your page. The knights stay the knights. Then the queen, same. And the king. All of it is inspired by the world of Guillermo del Toro. We then move on to the next suit, which is the coins or pentacles. They are called discs in this deck. So there's your ace. And then obviously there's a lot of engine parts in the world of Guillermo, that's why it was chosen for that reason. I really like the ancient look of the cards. To me, they really speak a lot, and it's a very good reader for me as a deck. I use it a lot. So then you've got your valet, which is your page, the knight, the queen, and the king. Okay, then we move on to the wands. There's your ace. I think it's really nice. I like that card. And then I love how you have little branches with a few leaves. Oh, I've swapped them. My bad. So 2, 3, 4. I mean, you can see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then there's your page, knight, the queen, and the king. And finally moving on to the swords suit, which is called blades here. So you've got the ace of blades, which we saw inside the book. I think that was on the first page. Let me see. Yes. So there you have it. And then you have different types of swords and knives, basically. So 2, 3, that looks like the swords, and then you've got knives appearing as we progress through the numbers. 7, 8, 9, 10. And then there's your page, the valet, the knight. I really like this knight. The queen, and the king. And then they nestle really nicely in their box. So I really love this deck. I'd recommend it to both beginners and experienced tarot readers alike, because if you know the numbers from 1 to 10 and what the court cards represent, and majors obviously, you can read the Tarot de Marseille. I know it's daunting for some people, but actually I find it easier than the Rider-Waite's because it's more open, so you can tap into your intuition way more. And I love how the world of Del Toro has been used, because obviously I know his films so well that when I see characters on the cards, it speaks to me immediately. I know what the reference is. So if you've not seen the films, I strongly suggest you have a look at them. They're really cool. I mean, you know, it's a question of opinions, obviously. But if you like old-looking decks with some kind of a twist, a bit of fantasy, I really would recommend this deck. It's really nice. You can find it on Amazon. It's not that expensive. I didn't even show you the bottom of the box. There it is. Yeah, you see it's $30 US dollars right here, and $39.99 Canadian dollars. So yeah, to me it's a brilliant deck. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I wish you a beautiful day, and I hope to see you again very soon. Until next time, au revoir.